Hello, welcome to the last lecture of superposition of waves. Today, our topic will be laws of vibrating spring. Till the previous lecture, we have studied about vibrations produced in a string and vibration produced in air column. This we have seen very nicely in the classroom lecture. Today, we will study first the laws of vibrating string, then sonometer, and then beats. This is our agenda for today, and your chapter will get completed by today. So the laws of vibrating string says that the fundamental frequency of a vibrating string n n is the fundamental frequency of a vibrating string, and if there is a string then it will have a particular tension, isn't it? So and it is given by n equals to 1 upon 2l root over t upon m. This n is what? This n is fundamental frequency. Okay. Now from this formula you see there are three laws that are coming. What are those laws? The first law is called as one second. The first law is called as law of length. First law is called as law of length. What is law of length? Law of length says that this my fundamental frequency n of a vibrating string is inversely proportional to the length of vibrating string. Okay, so n is inversely proportional to L, and in this condition tension and m, mass per unit length, is constant. This is the first law, as simple as that. Fundamental frequency is inversely proportional to the length of a string. Then comes the second law. This law is called as law of tension. So from the formula it is clear that fundamental frequency is directly proportional to a square root of tension of the string, and in this case L and M are constant. So this is the second law, which is called as law of tension. Then comes the third law, and this third law states that it is called as law of linear density. What is linear density? Density per unit length is called linear density. That is mass per unit length. Mass per unit volume is normal density. Mass per unit length will be linear density. So the fundamental frequency of vibration of a string is inversely proportional to the square root of mass per unit length, which is called as linear density. Okay, so this small m, in this case T and L are constant. What is this small m? Small m equals to mass upon length, and this is called as linear density. Okay, so this is the third law. So these are the three laws of a vibrating string. So you can call it as laws of a vibrating string. These are three laws. First is law of length, inversely proportional to length, fundamental frequency. Second is this. Third is this. And combining this, we arrive at the formula n equals to 1 upon 2l root over tm. That is 1 by 2 is the constant that came. Okay. This 2 is the constant that came. Okay. So this is the case. Now, these laws will be proved with the help of a device called as sonometer. So let us try to see what is this. This is a device called as sonometer. Now try to understand the construction of this device first. A sonometer consists of a hollow rectangular wooden box. This is a hollow rectangular wooden box. These two are the holes. Okay. This box is called as what? sound box. It is written here, this box is called as sound box. This sound box is used to make a large mass of air vibrate so that the sound produced by the vibrating string, this string you are seeing here, this is the string. This string will produce some sound, and because of this empty box, this sound will get amplified. The same principle is actually used in violin and all. Okay, now let us try to see this figure here again, and you see the construction of it. There are two breezes P and Q. If you can see, there are two bridges here P and Q along the width of the box, which can be moved parallel to the length of the box. These bridges can be moved in these directions. A metal wire of uniform cross section runs along the length of the box over the bridge. So this wire is running over the bridge and across the box also, across the length of the box. It is fixed at one end here through a hook. This wire is fixed at one end, and at the other end it will pass over a pulley. As you can see, it is passing over a pulley. So now again you can see the diagram, it is passing over the pulley. A hanger with suitable slotted weights can be attached to the free end of the wire. This is a hanger, and through these slotted weights can be attached, say 1 kg, 2 kg, the weights can be attached. This is the complete setup. So no need to write this, you can just see the figure, you just remember the diagram and you can write on your own. Now what happens, by changing this weight, if you see, by changing this weight, I can change the tension in the spring, tension in the string, isn't it? Because if you see the free body diagram, this is the weight, so T equals to mg, isn't it? If it is in equilibrium, T equals to mg. So as soon as I keep changing the mg, my T will keep on changing, that is the tension will keep on changing. This is clear. Now see how do we now see what happens here. Now see what happens here. This breeze can be moved. You also know that the breezes are here. This breeze can be moved across the length like this. Now what happens? This R and this T, what is this? Let us try to understand. This T is nothing but tuning fork. Okay, this tuning fork is used to vibrate the string, and this R is nothing but a piece of paper which will be kept on a string. Okay, what happens if the wire, this wire or the string you see, is plugged at a point midway between two bridges? If you see, this is the bridge, then what happens if this is here, then this string will start vibrating, isn't it? And these points will become what? These points will become nodes in this case, because it is running over there. So this point will be nodes, and other points in between the string can be antinodes, where antinodes will form, but at these points nodes will be there always. Now what happens, let us try to see what happens if the wire is plugged at a point midway between the bridge. Transverse waves are produced in the wire, isn't it? First the transverse waves will be produced in the wire. Stationary waves are produced between two bridges because these waves will go from one bridge to another and then will be reflected back from the another bridge. So stationary waves will be produced between two bridges due to reflection of transverse wave at the bridges and their superposition. Now you see the portion AB of the wire, this portion A to B, this portion of the wire between two bridges P and Q is the vibrating length. इतना लेंथ मेरा वाइब्रेट कर रहा होगा, इसको L से डिनोट कर दिया. Now you see, wire can be made to vibrate by holding this tuning fork, isn't it? There are two methods to vibrate the wire. If I can pluck it from here by my finger, or I can touch this tuning fork here. Now this tuning fork will have its natural frequency, say N, and if it is brought in contact with the wire, this wire will start vibrating with a particular frequency, say N dash. This thing is possible. Now if by adjusting the length of the wire, by adjusting the bridges, if somehow if I am able to make N equals to N dash, then this condition is called what? This condition is called resonance. And now if this frequency happens, if this resonance happens, then the waves which are there in the L length of the string will have the high amplitude, because resonance will be set up. Now this high amplitude or resonance is identified by this piece of paper which is denoted by R. Okay, this R is called as rider. What does rider do? If this is my string, then it will be vibrating with high amplitude in resonance. So if my piece of paper is here, when the string will vibrate, this will fly off because of the high amplitude, isn't it? If it is here, the paper is here. Now when a string does this, the paper will fly off because it will suffer the crest of the string, so it will fly off. Now this is how we identify the resonance. A small piece of paper which is called as rider is placed over the wire at a point, let us say in the middle of the length AB, and if the frequency of the tuning fork and the fundamental mode of vibration of the wire, that is N and N dash, matches, which is achieved by adjusting the length of the bridges, then in that case the paper rider happens to be at the antinode, that means at highest amplitude, and it will fly off. Okay, so this is what a sonometer is. Now this thing will be used to verify the laws that we have studied so far. So how it will be done, let us try to see that. Let me just erase this all thing first. So if you are asked what is a sonometer is nothing but it consists of an wooden box which is hollow and have two holes. A string is passing over the box which is hooked at one end, and it is passing over two bridges P and Q which can be moved across the length of the box. Now this string at one end is hooked, and on the other end it passes over a pulley at the end of which a hanger is attached. Now this hanger has some slotted weights which can provide tension to the string. Now this string between P and Q, whatever the length of the string will be, that will be vibrating length, and let us say it is denoted by AB. Now this string can be vibrated in two ways. Either I can pluck it with my hand, or this string can be brought in contact with a tuning fork and it can be set into vibration. If the natural frequency of the tuning fork and the fundamental frequency of the string matches, then that condition is called resonance, and then in that case the vibration will have highest amplitude. This highest amplitude can be observed by putting a rider or a piece of paper over the string, and we can observe that this paper will fly off as soon as the resonance is observed. So this is what a sonometer is all about. Then we can identify or we can prove the laws of a string through this sonometer. Let us see how. What was the first law? Let us first verify the first law. Let us first verify the first law of vibration string. What was the first law? That is N directly proportional to 1 upon L. Let us try to verify this law. How it can be verified? Okay, let us try to see. You see, by measuring length of wire and its mass, the mass per unit length of wire is determined. If I measure the length and the mass of the wire, I can find M equals to M upon L. So I have found this. Now this wire is stretched on the sonometer and the hanger is suspended from its free end. Okay, now a suitable tension is applied on the wire by placing slotted weights, and now this tension can also be measured. Okay, so suppose the length of wire which I am taking in first case is L1, and this will be vibrating with frequency N1 as that of the tuning fork, which is determined as follow. Okay, now a light paper rider is placed on the wire. This rider will be placed on the wire midway between the bridges. Okay, now the tuning fork is set into vibration. This tuning fork is there. I will first set into vibration by striking it with a piece of cotton. This cotton I will take. I will first hit this tuning fork with cotton, so this tuning fork will be set into vibration. Now I will bring this vibrating tuning fork in contact with my wire, and it will also start vibrating. My string will also start vibrating. So the stem of tuning fork is held in contact with the sonometer box, and by changing the distance between the breezes without disturbing the rider, okay, I will try to match the frequency. Now when the frequency of vibration of wire becomes exactly equal to the frequency of tuning fork, the wire will vibrate with maximum amplitude, because that is the condition for resonance. And when this happens, this rider paper will be thrown off. Okay, this is the thing that I have to do. Now in this way, if I take a set of tuning forks, suppose I take tuning fork 1, 2, 3, and all of them have different frequencies, N1, N2, N3. In this way, a set of tuning forks with different frequencies N1, N2, N3 are taken, and since for N1 frequency I am trying to match the frequency of a string also. So what happens, I have adjusted the length through this PQ. So for N1 I have adjusted the length and it was L1. For N2 I have to do L2. For N3 I have to do L3. So these are the corresponding measurements of length which was taken. Okay, now in every case we have kept the string same. So this string was same, that means the M was same, isn't it? And in every case also I have kept the weight same, that means my tension was also same, isn't it? So mass per unit length and tension were kept same. And when these observations were taken, that is a table was made. Okay, a table was made where we were taking N1, N2, N3, and on one side L1, L2, L3 were taken. Okay, now what they observed, that when they multiplied N1, L1, so they were multiplying N1, L1, then multiplied N2, L2, then multiplied N3, L3. So whatever values they were finding, N1, L1 was coming equals to N2, L2, and it was coming equals to N3, L3. All were same. That means this was actually a constant value they were giving. So from here, what did they found? That if T and M are kept constant, N into L equals to constant. If T and M are not changing, then this N cross L value will not change. That means you can write N into L equals to constant. That means N equals to constant upon L. If I remove this constant, this means N is directly proportional to 1 upon L. So this is the first law, and this was experimentally verified using sonometer. That means we took the readings for different frequencies. We took the readings of the length of the wire, and they were all different lengths, and when we multiplied, we found out that this multiplication product of length and corresponding frequency is same in every case. So this is how first law is verified. I hope this is clear. Now let us come to the second law. So I will first erase this. Okay. Now when I erase this, what is the second law that we know? The second law is N is directly proportional to root T. We have to prove this. Okay. What was done is the vibrating length of the given wire of mass per unit length small m is kept constant for verification of second law. That means what? In this case, what I did was I fixed this distance. This distance I am not changing. L is fixed. and wire is kept same in every experiment. That means linear density of wire will be same. Now what did I do? I kept changing the weights. In this case I kept changing the weights only. So first I used 1 kg, then 2 kg, then 3 kg. So the tension will be how much? When 1 kg it will be 9.8 Newton tension. In second case it will be 19 point something Newton. So in that case the tensions I kept on changing in the wire. Okay. Now if tensions were kept on changing and this frequency, tuning fork frequency, I was doing the same thing. What I was doing, I was just striking the tuning fork to a cotton and then bringing this in contact with the wire. And what was I was trying, by changing the tension I was trying to match the frequency of wire with the tuning fork frequency. So in this case I was not adjusting the length, rather I was changing the weights, or I was adjusting the tension. So I kept this and I kept taking measurements. So for N1 I have to bring about a tension of T1 so that the resonance occurs. For N2 I have to bring about a tension of T2 so that the resonance occurs and this rider flies off. Similarly for N3 I have to bring about a tension of T3 so that this occurs. Now upon doing the mathematics they found out that this n, the value of N1 suppose 4 and the value of T1 was suppose 9. Okay, so this ratio was 4 upon 9. Okay, similarly they found some values of N2. Okay, some values of N2 they found. Suppose they found the value of N2 as 16 and the value of you can say that the value of T2 they found was 81 say. Okay, so similarly if you see what is happening here, if you see what is happening here, this values I have taken wrongly. Whatever values they found out now, they found out the ratio of N1 upon root T1 was actually equals to N2 upon root T2 was actually equals to N3 upon root T3. Can you think of this, that how what value might be coming? So this is nothing but mathematics, that suppose N1 was coming 2 and T1 was coming 9. So root 9 is what? 3. So 2 upon 3 was one value. Okay, so N1 was 2, T1 was 9. So it was coming 2 upon 3. Similarly, what could N2 and T2 be coming? So N2 and T2 was coming in such a way that on doing the simplification, it was also coming as 2 upon 3. Okay, so it might be the case that N2 and T2 were something like you can say N2 and T2 were 4 upon 54. Okay, if you see why I have written 4 upon 54 and 22 as 4 upon 54, 54 and 4. If you see, if you do 4, so T2 is root 54. Okay, so what will it give? 4 upon root 54 is root 9 into root 6. So not 4 upon 54, something that will give me again 2 upon 3. Okay, the idea is that, so 2 and this shall be coming out as 2. Okay, so it was 4 upon 54, not 4 upon 54. It might be 36. Okay, it is not 4 upon 54, rather 36. N2 was coming 4, then T2 was coming 36. Then if you see, N2 upon root 2 is 4 upon root 36, and 4 upon root 36 will be what? 4 upon 6, and this is what? 2 upon 3 only, isn't it? 4 upon 6 is what? 2 upon 3. So this is why when they kept on taking the readings, this came like this, and that is how n upon root t, that is how n upon root t became constant. So this is how the second law was verified. So this is simple. Now you understood how the third law will be verified. You can do this now, the third law verification. So for the third law, again, what they did, what is the third law? How do you write? What is the third law? First, let me tell you. Third law is that n is directly proportional to 1 upon root m. So what did they do this time? For verification of third law of vibrating strings, since we have to do this with respect to linear density of wire, so in this case I will be changing the wires in both the experiments. So in first case I took the wire whose linear density was m1, and in second case I took the wire whose linear density was m2. And what I did was I kept the linear densities as you. The first wire is subjected to suitable tension and made to vibrate in unison with tuning fork. Okay, that means the resonance was established. Now in this case I observed the vibrating length, and the vibrating length was coming out as L1. Similarly, this vibrating length L1 is noted. Now I use the same tuning fork. Okay, using the same fork, the second wire is made to vibrate under the same tension, and the vibrating length L2 was determined. Same tuning fork is used, remember. Thus the frequency of vibration of two wires is kept same under same applied tension. Same tuning fork is used. Important point here. Same tuning fork. In earlier cases same wires were used. In this case same tuning fork but different wires are used. So in this case what are being kept constant? N and T are kept constant. N and T are kept constant. Now when they did this, they kept the frequency of vibration of two wires constant and applied tension as constant. They found that L1 times root M1 was coming equals to L2 times root M2. Okay, this was coming. That means you can say L root M was coming constant. K I am writing as constant. So if this is the case that L root M is coming constant, you know from first law. From first law what you know? N is directly proportional to 1 upon L, and n is directly proportional to 1 upon L. So if you see n is directly proportional to 1 upon L from first law, so can you say that n is directly proportional to 1 upon root m? Isn't it? You can say na, n is directly proportional to 1 upon root m. Sorry, this is the case. How can you say this? Let us try to understand simple mathematics. Okay, I have found out that L root m equals to K. That means L is directly proportional to 1 upon root m. So in place of 1 upon root m I can write L. In place of L I can write 1 upon root m. So since n is directly proportional to 1 upon L, that means n is directly proportional to 1 upon root m, isn't it? Because L is directly proportional to 1 upon root m. Okay, this is as simple as that. Okay, now this is clear. So if T and L are constant, the third law says that n is directly proportional to 1 upon m. So on combining this, we arrived at this formula that n equals to 1 upon 2L root T upon m. Okay, this was the formula for sonometer. Now there is one thing that that can also be seen here. You see, let us do this here only. What is linear density? LD. Linear density is mass per unit length, capital M upon capital L. Okay, or I can say that mass is what? Linear density is mass per unit length. So I can say that it is mass is what? You see, if density is rho, density equals to mass upon volume. So mass is nothing but volume into density. So I can write it as volume pi r square L, pi r square L is volume into density rho upon what? Upon L. So this L and L will cancel out, so it will become linear density as pi r square rho, isn't it? Linear density as pi r square rho. This linear density is nothing but denoted by a small m, isn't it? So if you see, this small m equals to pi r square rho, and you know that n is directly proportional to 1 upon root of small m. So I can say that n is directly proportional to 1 upon root of pi r square rho, isn't it? So I can say from here, this implies n is directly proportional to the square root of linear density, and n is directly proportional to the 1 upon square root of r square. सॉरी, सो इसको लिख सकते हैं, ऊपर कर लिख रहा हूँ, n is directly proportional to 1 upon r. That is, n is inversely proportional to radius, n is inversely proportional to a square root of density. These are the two things that are coming out. Okay, so fundamental frequency, n is everywhere fundamental frequency. Fundamental frequency of vibration of a stretched string is inversely proportional to the radius of the string and a square root of the density of the material. This thing is coming. Okay, so this sonometer part is clear. Now the next topic that we will see today is beats. So in beats chapter, the derivation is again same, so I will not do this every time, so I will just show it to you how it is done here. Let us see what is beats. It is an interesting phenomena based on the principle of superposition. Okay, when there is superposition of two sound waves having same amplitude, A will be same बट स्लाइटली डिफरेंट फ्रीक्वेंसीज, मगर दैट मीन्स एक का फ्रीक्वेंसी 400 है तो दूसरे का 405 होगा. ओके, स्लाइटली डिफरेंट फ्रीक्वेंसीज. तो N1 N2 traveling in the same direction. So this is important. Direction is same. If direction will be opposite, then it becomes a standing wave or stationary waves. If it is in same direction, then it is forming a beat. So traveling in same direction, the intensity of sound waves varies periodically with time. This phenomena is known as production of beats. What it is trying to say, if you see, there is, suppose this sound, it is from frequency of 400 Hz, suppose, and there is again this sound, so there is not much difference. That means it is a frequency of 403 Hz. Now these two sounds are reaching your ear. When these two sounds will reach your ear at the same time, that means I am speaking with 400 Hz, and someone else is also speaking with 403 Hz, then you will hear this thing. That means in between there will be loudness, and then there will be low sound, there will be again loudness, low sound. This is what is called as beats. That means when there is superposition of two sound waves having same amplitude but slightly different frequencies traveling in same direction, the intensity of sound varies periodically with time. This phenomena is known as production of beats. Okay, now there is two things. Occurrence of maximum intensity is called waxing, remember, and those of minimum intensity is called waning. Intensity is what? Directly proportional to a square of amplitude. So one waxing and successive waning together constitute one beat. One waxing and successive waning. Okay, waxing is, remember, maximum intensity, waning is minimum intensity, and the number of beats per second is called beat frequency. These are the basic definitions. So what is beat frequency? Number of beats per second. Now let us see the mathematics behind beats. So you see, consider two sound waves, same thing is again repeating. Consider two sound waves having same amplitude and slightly different frequencies, say N1 and N2. Let us assume that they arrive in phase at some point x of the medium. the displacement due to each wave at any instant of time. This is the equation, y equals to a sine 2 pi n1 t minus x upon lambda 1. This you know, a is the amplitude and this is y2. Okay, now these are the two equations. What happens when they superimpose? What will happen? The same thing will happen. So I have assumed that the listener is at x equals to 0. So when you put x as 0 here, so y1 equals to a sine 2 pi n1 to n1t, and similarly y2 will become a sine 2 pi n2t. This is clear. According to principle of superposition, I will do y equals to y1 plus y2. This all things we have done earlier also. So y equals to y1 plus y2, y equals to a sine 2 pi n1 2 plus 2. Now when you do this, sine c plus sine d, 2 sine c plus d, this we have done earlier. So this will become like this, isn't it? I have done this in the last lecture, last lecture. So this will come. Now when you rearrange this, so this cos will come first and sine will come next. So thus just rearranging. Now we have put, you remember we have put the cos term as amplitude. And here one thing we have taken is this n1 plus n2 upon 2 is coming. I have taken this, we have taken this as n. That means n equals to n1 plus n2 upon 2. I have taken the average of two frequencies. That's it. So the final equation will become y equals to a sine 2 pi nt. If you see what is this equation, this is the equation of a progressive wave having frequency n and amplitude a. You know that this amplitude a is a varying amplitude because it is coming from cos. Similarly, this frequency n is the mean of the two frequencies n1 and n2. This is the thing. So this is the thing. Now we have to see the intensity. The main part here comes is the intensity. So intensity of sound, you know, intensity of sound is proportional to the square of amplitude. So intensity will be maximum where? The amplitude in maximum. And what is the formula for amplitude? We have taken 2a cos this thing as amplitude. So this thing will, amplitude will be maximum when cos theta equals to plus minus 1, then only maximum and minimum amplitude. This will be maximum, this will be minimum amplitude. So since before cos there is 2a, so maximum amplitude will be either plus 2a or minus 2a. So here also amplitude is plus minus 2a. So this 2a cos this much is plus minus 2a. So you see this 2 cancels. So a cancels. So cos 2 pi n1 minus n2 upon 2 t equals to plus minus 1. When is cos plus minus 1? When theta equals to either 0, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi. So again you see 2 pi n1 minus n2 upon t, 2t is 0 pi, 2 pi, 3 pi. So from here, for 0 time I have to find out the time, isn't it? T. So at t equals to 0, this much is 0. And if you do for other, it will come as, you see, 2 pi n1 minus n2 upon 2 t equals to, we either be 0 or pi or 2 pi. So I will do pi. So when pi I do, this pi and pi cancels, 2 and 2 cancels. So t equals to 1 upon n1 minus n2, isn't it? So this is 1 upon n1 minus n2. Similarly 2 upon n1 minus n2, 3 upon n1 minus n2. So this is the time interval at which the amplitudes will be maximum or minimum. Okay, that means the time interval between two successive maxima is always 1 upon n1 minus n2, isn't it? If you see 0, then 1 upon n1 minus n2, then 2 upon n1 minus n2, that is 1 plus 1, 2 upon n1 minus n2. That means दो के बीच का गैप हमेशा 1 upon n1 minus n2 ही है. So this is the period of beat 1 upon n1 minus n2. I hope this is clear. So this was for maxima. Similarly we will have for minima also. Let us see that. So for minima what happens? I have told you that for minima means that will be node. That means amplitude at that point will be 0. We have seen it in a stationary wave. Okay. So just go through that lecture. The number of waxing hertz per second is the reciprocal of reciprocal of a period of waxing. Okay, this is nothing, this means what, time period is directly proportional to time period equals to 1 upon frequency. This is what it is saying, the number of waxing hertz per second is the reciprocal of period of waxing. Waxing is what, amplitude, so number of maximum amplitude is opposite of the period of amplitude. So frequency और time period के बारे में बोल रहा है. Now frequency of beats equals to, so I have found out that time period was 1 upon n1 minus n2, so frequency इसका reciprocal n1 minus n2 हो गया. This is clear. So this was for maximum intensity. Now intensity of sound will be minimum when amplitude is 0. उसको क्या बोलते हैं, waning बोलते हैं, maximum वाले को waxing बोलते हैं. So for minimum amplitude a equals to 0, that means this thing will be 0. Now when cos theta is 0, when theta equals to pi by 2, 3 pi by 2, this thing, so this much equals to 0 means this theta value has to be pi by 2, 3 by 5, 5 by 2. And when you do this mathematics, t will come out as 1 upon 2 n1 minus n2, 3 upon 2 n1 minus n2, 5 upon 2 n1 minus n2. Even if you subtract this thing, that means even if you try to find out the interval between two minimums, this interval will again come out to be 1 upon n1 minus n2, which is obvious. You see, whatever the interval between two maximum is this is same, isn't it, between two minimum also. So that is why this came out to be same time period, 1 upon n1 minus n2. Now this is actually the representation of beat. Okay, what is happening, let us try to understand. You don't need to see this figure first try to understand what I am trying to say. This, there is a I have said that amplitudes are same, frequency different हो सकता है बहुत कम से. That means the frequency for first wave is say 4 and for second say 5. What happens, let us try to understand. Frequency is 4 means एक सेकेंड में कितना साइकिल करेगा, 4 साइकिल करेगा. Suppose this is the thing, 2 waves I am studying. एक सेकेंड में 4 साइकिल किया, 1 2 ओके 3 4. Remember I have to keep the amplitude same, so थोड़ा सा गड़बड़ हो सकता है डायग्राम. उसी टाइम में एक दूसरा वेव है जो सेम लेंथ में 5 साइकिल कंप्लीट करेगा और उसका एम्पलीट्यूड भी सेम रहेगा. तो इसको 5 साइकिल कंप्लीट करना है. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ कि ये थोड़ा फास्ट मूव करेगा. दिस वेव विल मूव कंपैरेटिवली फास्टर देन द टॉप वेव. सो इट विल कंप्लीट 5 साइकिल्स, 1 2 3 4 5. It has completed 5 cycles. Remember the amplitude has to be same. Okay. Frequency इसका थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा. That means ये fast complete किया. Now when these two are superimposed, that means this is traveling in this direction, this is traveling in this direction, and when these two are superimposed, then what happens? Okay, what will happen? Let us try to see that. These two are when superimposed, what will happen? This is the case. So पहला वाला वेव जो मेरा था वो कितना साइकिल कंप्लीट किया था, 4 साइकिल, 1 2 3 4. एंड दूसरा वाला वेव आया, उसको 5 साइकिल कंप्लीट करना है, तो वो थोड़ा फास्ट चलेगा. स्टार्ट किया यहीं से क्योंकि फेज डिफरेंस 0 हमने लिया था, रिमेंबर. तो वो 5 साइकिल कंप्लीट करना है, तो ये जब ये यहाँ पे आ रहा है वो पहले ही यहाँ पे आ जाएगा, इजंट इट, और ऐसे ऐसे कर रहा होगा. नहीं, ये 5 साइकिल कंप्लीट करेगा कैसे भी. नाउ द गुड थिंग टू नोट हेयर इज व्हेन ही विल बी डूइंग दिस, अ टाइम विल कम जब वो यहाँ पे चल रहा होगा तो ऐसे जा रहा होगा. एक टाइम ऐसा आएगा जब वो इसके मैक्सिमम से मिल जाएगा, फिर और उसके आगे निकल जाएगा, इजंट इट. सो जब वो मैक्सिमम से मिल जाएगा तो क्या बनेगा, मैक्सिमम इंटेंसिटी का चीज़ बन जाएगा. एंड जब दूसरा टाइम ये भी आ रहा होगा, अभी यहाँ पे सही से ड्रॉ नहीं हुआ, दूसरा टाइम ये आ रहा होगा. मैं क्या बताया कि फर्स्ट वेव है वो मान लो ऐसे चल रहा था, ओके। तो एक टाइम ये है जब वो ऐसे चल रहा है, दूसरा वेव क्योंकि फास्ट चल रहा है, तो एक टाइम ये आएगा कि जो दूसरा वेव है वो मेरे मैक्सिमम से मिल जाएगा क्योंकि फास्ट चल रहा है। लेकिन एक टाइम ये भी आएगा कि वो मेरे मिनिमम के एकदम अपोजिट हो जाएगा। जैसे मेरा ये मिनिमम है तो ये उसके अपोजिट आ गया पूरा। और एक समय ये आया था कि मेरे मैक्सिमम के साथ जुड़ गया था। तो जब ऐसा समय आया व्हेन दिस थिंग टाइम्स कम्स व्हेन इट केम along with the maximum, जिसको बोलते हैं कंस्ट्रक्टिव, एंड व्हेन इट केम अपोजिट टू द मैक्सिमम, इसको बोलते हैं डिस्ट्रक्टिव। सो डैट मीन्स ओवरऑल क्या हो रहा होगा, ओवरऑल ऐसा कुछ हो रहा होगा। यू सी ओवरऑल मैं बनाता हूँ, देखो ओवरऑल क्या हो रहा होगा, ऐसे चल रहा होगा वेव, नॉर्मल नॉर्मल चल रहा है, कभी एकदम मैक्सिमम हो गया, फिर कभी जीरो ही कर दिया जब यहाँ पे ऐसे दोनों अपोजिट हुआ, फिर चल रहा है, कभी एकदम मैक्सिमम कर दिया, फिर कभी एकदम जीरो ही कर दिया। तो इफ़ यू ऑब्जर्व द पैटर्न इट विल बी लाइक दिस, isn't it? The same thing is drawn here. That means what? If you see, this wave has more frequency compared to this wave, as this is completing more cycles in same period of time than this wave. So what happens when these two superimpose each other? A time will come when this and this, its crest and its crest matches, and that is the period of maximum. And a time it come when its crest and its trough matches, and that is the period for node formation, that is minimum. So this is how the overall beats happens. So when this is maximum I heard a high noise, and when this is minimum I don't hear noise at all. So this is what beats is all about, and this is the graphical representation of beats. I hope this is clear. Now there is something called as application of beats. So what is the application of beats? बीट्स का दो तीन एप्लीकेशन है. द फर्स्ट इज, अगर तुम किसी म्यूजिक सेरेमनी में जाओगे तो यू माइट हैव ऑब्जर्व दैट द गिटार, द तबला गाई एंड अदर इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स पे जो भी रहते हैं, दे विल फर्स्ट ट्यून इन बिटवीन देमसेल्फ. सो व्हाट दे आर ट्राइंग टू डू इज दे आर एक्चुअली ट्राइंग टू मैच द बीट्स. If their beats are not matched, then what happens? This loudness will come, isn't it, in between. So that will not be pleasant to our ears. So this is the first application of beats. Secondly, these beats are used to measure the speed. Okay, and that technique is used in submarines and in aeroplanes. How it is done, it is not in your syllabus, okay, but just remember that these beats are used to measure the speed and through Doppler effect, the phenomena you might have studied, it is not in your syllabus. So this I am not going in detail. So this principle of beat and these two sound sources are used to measure the velocities in case of this you see in case of these submarines, or even in the case of aeroplane, these techniques are used. When they are used in case of submarines, they are called as sonar. Okay, sound, navigation and ranging. Okay, so sound, navigation and ranging techniques we say. Okay, similarly when they are used for aeroplanes, there is a microwave which sends the frequency to aeroplane, which sends some wave to aeroplane with a particular frequency, and that wave is reflected back from the airplane to the microwave, and depending upon the frequencies they measure the velocity of the airplane. So this thing is not in your syllabus. You just remember the application that they are used in submarines and in airplanes, and also they are used in musical instruments. This is the basic application of waves. So this chapter is complete at our end. Any doubt you can come to me.